Dude, this theme song they made for Dante Unbound is so good. Ooh. I just keep going on about it, but holy shit. We're streaming. We're playing Warframe, as you can see. I just wanted to say, I gotta turn this down a bit for me. I just wanted to say that I feel like lately I've been very impulsive and I don't know. I feel like I don't know how much it comes through, but I feel like I've been very impulsive, maybe a little irritable some days on stream. I apologize for that. I think not being on any medication is coming with a brand new set of problems that I kind of hoped would just not be there, but it's, you know, the way it goes. But on that, but, you know, I don't want to just blame not being on pills, because I think to a degree I can try to be more actively aware of trying not to be impulsive. The big thing is, like, I constantly feel this rush when I'm streaming, like, to do things at a pace that doesn't really suit me, and I'm going to try to work on that. If things take a while, if there's a bit of a grind, that's the way it goes. I'm not responsible for the decisions the people who watch this make. If this is boring to you, you can leave. Then I know that, and I gotta internalize that. We're gonna play Warframe. On the last stream, we've been trying to do isolation vaults, but doing them solo is really rough. And it seemed like a bit of a pain to organize a group for it, and I don't have friends or people who want to play games with me. Well, at least they want to play Warframes with me. So we're going to we gotta do it ourselves. So we spent a little time getting what Overframe describes as an S-tier weapon. I'm not checking my extractor drones enough, which is concerning, because it's on my screen literally always. Oh, hey, hello. But before we get into it, let's discuss a few things that happened off stream. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna have to make more drones. These are breaking. Let's just take a quick peek. Extractor drone. Oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah, just throw one of those in there. A few things off stream, nothing too crazy. Sorry, you heard this song? It's real good. I leveled up on Nightwave again, so we got more, not ducats, credits.
Who have we got on the line?
Which I still don't. I don't know. I'm not in a huge rush. I kind of like this as like I would like to use that as like a profile picture. I don't know. There's something cool about it. But like, there's, I mean, I still can't even afford the helmet if I wanted it. But I don't know. I feel like I should probably get not this. Maybe reactors or catalysts. Oh my god, they're expensive. I don't know, I'm just gonna keep working on it. I'm not super sold on anything. Maybe some mods will appear that I want. I don't know. I did 2 Ayatan Treasure Hunter weeklies. I did last week's, and I guess it reset like today or something recently. So I got 2 of those done, which is gonna be relevant because your boy needs endo. One day I would like to start holding on. Oh my god, I got 4 total. Auto install. I mean, we got stars out the rectum, literally.
Are you enjoying the view?
Nope. So yeah, this is. Alright, so that's like a lot of. You know, let's start with just going to sell that.
Did you fuse your mods, operator?
No.
Did they anger you in some way?
I literally didn't do that. Ordis is truly on one. I also got the burst laser on the weapon, the burst laser for Sentinels to max level. So we got 1 max level weapon, a couple. I mean, I didn't do a ton. Just like some Nightwave stuff. I also got the Nidus to level 30 again, and then did the thing you do, where you do the thing that you do. Polarity does
You've come to the right place.
Wait, I can't do this again.
Yes, the right place.
Right,
Welcome to my bazaar.
I thought it wasn't there if she.
Come here to trade. Selling.
You were good. No, wait, this is the wrong thing.
Welcome to my
Stop!
bazaar.
Stop!
Tell 'em all
Shut
over
up!
the system. Come here to
Stop!
trade. Need any pointers?
Give me the money! Give me the money!
What a haul! It must have
That
taken
it was
forever
quite a
to fill
haul.
these with stars.
Also, I got an eye off camera, but I think I already looked and saw you didn't have anything I wanted.
Seeing one of you primes. As bright as if they
She
were
has
born
dialogue because I have a prime for once. I'm cool. I did it. I have value in this world. I got a prime in Warframe. I don't know if you have anything I want. Titania Prime. Titania Prime. I understand. Titania Prime. Apis Sensiandana. No. I'm gonna get a ship skin if I save up. I mean, that's pretty cool.
You know how it is to serve in silence.
So
We
true.
saw things.
I'm oppressed as
The
shit right now,
vampire.
actually.
The Navarus revels. Not
What
the
is
kind of
this?
things you can
Oh, it's music.
to people who just weren't there. Am I right?
I don't know. Are you calling me some sort of
Take your
slave?
shot until you're sure of your target. Enjoy your future.
We stand a vendor that doesn't insult us for not buying their things. Alright, so the goal is still... The main goal right now is to blow up and then act like I am unaware of your existence. The main goal right now... We have one weapon slot, so that really worked out. Apparently the Exceltra is a fire little baddie on the beat, as they say. Sorry, I said all those words in that order. Let's go to main. So well, Nidus is level 10 right now.
Excellent.
So I need to level up a bit. I got an Umbral Polarity.
In blood. Safe and sound.
And then we're gonna try the Excelsior. So we'll do it like a mission. Oh. I thought it was flatter. Looks like I opened a PS5. It's like a hot dog bun. Alright. We're gonna go all in. If this thing is as good as the stories foretell, then it better... Well, I'm gonna trust that it's sick. It's an auto, high accuracy. So it's just an assault rifle. Puncture. I mean, shoot faster. Multi-shot seems good. Oh, let's... is that an interest? Punch through. Fire rate goes up a third. I mean, obviously we're gonna want everything. I'm just wondering if what the best combo is. I think I'll do Shred and Serration to start. And then we'll switch to Prime Shred and Split Chamber.
Orders is picking up a distress signal.
And also Serration.
Wait. No.
This is one new. I'm hearing this one a lot. Crit chance is 32% at base? Hold up. Crit chance is 32% at base? Now it's 80%? Hold up. %, crit chance, and we fire fast as fuck boy. This might be the move. And then we get... Okay, I understand completely. Give me some random colors. I'm feeling like a dark and twisted... What's that Kanye West album? I guess we don't talk about him. He's kind of a rat warrior. Actually, rats are like cute and cool. And do interesting things. Kanye West is... He does interesting things, but not in like a good way. He's kind of just a little weird piss baby. He was like too privileged. I still can't remember. My brain still wants to... What's it? Dark Twisted Fantasy something? I don't know. I heard Power in Saints Row 3 and I was like, that's cool. And then after that I was like, oh, no more. This gold does not match the gold on my wrist. Beaster. I think I would like it to be darker. Me looking in the mirror. Don't say that.
An unexpected color combination, operator.
Or just, I'll beat you to death.
Bleeding.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, are you, like, mad at me, or... I think this is the color I want, yeah. But I think I want the front flaps. Sorry for saying front flaps. To be of a different... Oh, this is what I want. There we go. Wait, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, wait, yes, it is. It's not as white as I wanted it to be. Me talking about my ex-girlfriend to my therapist. It's not true. These are terrible. I'm sorry, okay? I don't even see where this green at. Oh, it's a missive. I don't know. It's like... Doesn't matter that much. I mean, it might. I don't know. I can't see it. I really wish I could just... Oh, there's a favorites. But does favoriting make it so it only rolls those? It's not doing anything. Oh, it's colors. Individual colors. Love never meant much to me. Love never meant much to me. Alright, let's do a mission just to get some levels on Nidus and my new gun and get a feel for the beast. I'm thinking we could probably go somewhere hoarder. Because I imagine at base it'll be doper. Let's just freaking send it. I thought the missions that gave bonus XP changed, but maybe they're always the same. Fish can be caught in various lakes. Yes, that is... So that's not true. Okay.
Set off the alarms and keep the infested busy.
Yes. Alright, do this, get some levels, and then we'll hop into the...
area. The emergency life support
And the...
delivering is your only
And the...
chance.
Oh! Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Oh, my ammo situation is dire immediately. Okay. You know, sometimes you gotta use the weapon to see the... You gotta bleed to see the pieces come to life. I've been thinking lately, I ain't gonna do nothing. I am used to using a Fullman, which doesn't really care about ammo. I mean, it like sort of do, but not really. I mean, it kind of just comes back. So I have no gauge on like if I'll be getting enough ammo for this slow ammo. Like I think I have like 3 clips total, but maybe that won't matter as much as I think. This place is dirty. Yeah, I'm out of juice. Okay. Okay. So we might have to do something about that. Let's all get grouped up. Let's all get grouped up. Let's all get grouped up. I'm stacking. Oh, I'm stacking. I'm out of juice. Another level. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful Joe. Is there a... I don't know. Yeah, there's ammo mods. Of course there's ammo mods. But is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, this thing's doing pretty good considering it's just at level 2. But I don't... Like, the gun doesn't get more juice by leveling. Like, it's just... I assume it's just damage? I don't know. I'm out of ammo. But I guess this gives the epitaph more use. Do I have to actually, like, rely on my secondary? It matters more that I even have it. Like, with the Fullman, I like why switch to my secondary when I got a perfectly good canoe. I mean, it was nice for slowing a bunch of haters.
incoming.
Life support incoming? Exit thing. Quite profound. I do like the yellow shots. It looks powerful. It looks urine. Ugh, I still am getting that, like...
Additional life support has arrived.
When I see the red flasher on my screen, I always assume I'm about to die. Oh, let's see, maybe this is a good spot to hang out. Build this funnel, maybe? I gotta remember to equip that thing so I can unlock these other cosmetics. I don't know, is this an okay place to be? I'm starting to have second thoughts because this single meatball man is feeding me his little meatball hands. The avatar is really strong, holy. I probably have it built wrong too. I haven't looked at my mod. I looked at my mods off stream, and I didn't really think anything of it, but I mean, it's chopping haters. Dead Rising, chop till you drop. That's a thing, right? They said that. Dead Rising is such a weird game. Because it's like really fun and then it's kind of sucks to play for a while. Like it's really, I was thinking of Dead Rising 2 specifically, where it's like really fun to run around the mall, with, especially if you have someone to play with, and like do weird things and combo items and have a great time. And then you try to do like the boss fights and they're just like damage sponges. And you have to be like overly meticulous and it's very exhausting. And it's weird. It's a weird game. Yeah, y'all coming in here or what? I'm trying to do like a tunnel situation. I don't know if this is correct. Or not a tunnel. What is it? There's surely a term for when you... A funnel! Not a tunnel! A funnel. Not the funnel.
The operative is just
Oh, more endo.
Keep up the good work.
I mean, like, we're doing pretty good on...
Extraction is ready.
Like, ammo's kind of a problem, but it seems to come back pretty fast. I don't know, I think the ammo situation could be a problem, but I think maybe... I'm gonna try to not... I'm gonna go for the approach of making the gun as strong as possible so I can tear as much ass as possible while I have bullets, and then just be okay with switching to my secondary, because it's also really good. I usually am more conditioned to never want to use my secondary because it's literally diarrhea in a gun. But the epitaph actually hurts people. In fact, in this situation where there's a dirge of haters approaching my wake, I'm at a wake, by the way. I'm just kind of streaming in the background. Everyone's looking at me. Why don't we get in here? These idiots don't know how to use doors. I'm serious. Dude, it's very satisfying to watch a man be half a man with a clean cut with the epitaph. I'll enjoy killing. I'm gonna do this in real life. Who said that? Someone just chittered at me. Please stop Goomba stomping my skull. This is all sure makes things hard to look at. I mean, in this specific instance where I can't see shit. What am I doing on XP? Level 4, level 13 on Nidus. I have no gauge on like what level I should want to be, so I'm just gonna, I don't know, guess arbitrarily and hope it works out. I'm thinking like we stay till we're like 20-ish and like 15, 10, 15 on... I mean, I guess We'll stay until Nidus gets to 20, and then from there we'll... I mean, we'll just go. I can't really predict how much XP each gun will get, or each thing will get. Warframes aren't guns, idiot. Why am I convulsing at this hour? I simply don't have the time to be convulsing. Please stop vomiting on me. I understand the convulsions now. My head is going numb. I mean, I'm getting like, I'm dissociating. There's too much happening in my field of view. I think that's cool. You're cool. It's weird that they have like, no, everything has that. I guess I'm just used to seeing those as enemies. Well, I was gonna say everything has like everything has a red health bar. It's not just an enemy thing. I think. Wait, Bringleton, you don't have a red health bar. No, you have a yellow health bar. Wait, do you have a yellow health? No, the health bars aren't... It's indicative of something else, I think. I think? Bringleton, where are you? Now, you're gray. But is that because of something else? I don't know, man. Alright, let's... Pardon me. Pardon me. Pardon me. Pardon me. Pardon me! What's up, man? I don't know, I feel kind of bad for that. It seemed like he was just thinking about some shit. Oh yeah, I killed people with sliding. I'm out of ammo. Never mind, I just had to reload. I'm doing it, I'm really doing it. Oh, okay, we got it. That's done. Oh.
The spores have almost completely saturated the atmosphere.
Oh, night. Shit. I am not paying any attention to the things I need to look at. What was that noise? Was that me? Did I say that? Something went...
Life support has been
Ooh,
replenished.
bad job, me. Pay
Look
attention.
what our tunnel operative just found. They could not do this without you.
That's true. I'm kind of a hero in a way.
Life support activated.
She really sounds like the lady from the Pulsefire Ezreal skin. The, like, her, like, AI thing that goes, anomaly detected. It's you, Ezreal. Ezreal's kind of an anomaly. An anomaly. I mean, by kind of, I mean, I think literally in the lore in that skin. It's weird that the skin lines have their own lore. This feels like a lot to remember. I wonder how they keep track of all that stuff. Like, if your skin line has lore, do they just have, like, a giant... I guess they must just have, like, a big program that everyone has to be a part of. But, God, imagine being the person that has to organize that. Oh, that sounds like a... beyond a headache. It sounds like a... like, just clicking of that, like, to open that. Like, I have my own Notion stuff, and even trying to keep that organized, sometimes I'm like... But that's because I'm also, like, impulsive and, like, my brain's weird. So, like... my natural inclination is to never want to read things, but I find when I actually slow down and just take things in, it's not that bad. So maybe for other people, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I could, like, live a day in my life with someone else's brain and see if it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just, blowing it out of proportion. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Or maybe I'd learn that, wow, holy shit. My brain really is terrible. Like, I already knew that, but like, holy. It's worse than I ever could have imagined. The circus of value. I gotta res my dog for progress towards the resing achievement, which I hope works, because I have no one else to res. I should be using my abilities more. Literally why we're here, to level this freak up. Yeah, I'm not paying attention. I'm sorry.
Save you.
Excuse me, don't jump in my back. I don't want to be over here. Okay, wait. Pay attention to life support. 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 Pay attention
Life support capsule is now
to life support capsule is now available. It's so green in there. I remember I got the healing orbs on mercy kills.
The spores
I know.
completely saturated the atmosphere. You need to get out of there.
Call me saturated spores.
Life support has been replenished.
Whoop, sorry, hit that. Did not hold the button down goodly. Call me button down goodly. Sorry. It's a crutch. I'm not funny. I have a problem. I also want to reiterate that we're doing 3-hour streams instead of 4 to see if it helps me manage my time better off stream, because I have many things I want to do and create and be in life, and streaming is fun and relaxing and good to do, but it does not further my machinations to be a worthwhile human being and accomplish the things I want in my fickle little life.
Additional life support has arrived.
None of that was a joke. I'm having an existential crisis always. I am an existential crisis always. Where are the juices? I really gotta switch back to this weapon more often, considering that's the point. But I am, like, maybe a little too weak for this at this point. There's some mild struggle.
The longer you fight,
Ooh.
the more successful we
Actually, wait, don't I have like 80 of those? I mean, it's still fine. I'm sure there's things I desire in there.
critical mass. After that point, no amount of life support will save you. Life support has been replenished.
I mean, the real unmuddied version of what I was trying to say is just like, I have a lot of stuff I want to get done in a day, but part of that includes like being able to just relax with no, what's the word, conniptions? Just like no expectations, like not, like even though streaming is relaxing, it's different from being able to just like sit down alone and play a game. And I want to be able to have more time for all of that. So I'm hoping just, you know, an extra hour a day of less, or an hour less of streaming a day will be enough to afford me some more mental bandwidth. I don't know if it will. It might not be near enough, which is why I might need to cut down on more stream time, but I don't know yet. We're testing. I think part of it is also because I stream in the middle of the day, so I'm streaming and I know I don't have other things done. But I can't really stream late. Like, I would prefer to stream later at night, but 2 reasons I can't is that I don't want to keep my brother up, who goes to bed a little bit on the earlier side and works, so I'm not gonna interrupt, you know, that. And also, usually at night I want to play games with other people, because that's when people have time to do that. I don't know, which is kind of why I'm like, I've been leaning towards maybe trying YouTube again, but I'm also like, if I do that, I really gotta commit, because I keep going back and forth, and I need to, like, just Let's Plays, I mean, just because it lets me do it. I can record whenever. I don't have to stream at a certain time. I don't know. Streaming in the middle of the day is weird for me. It shouldn't be, but it is. And I think it's one of those things where I gotta... Oh, damn! God, that was cool. He's cool. where I gotta just go with the flow of my own brain.
Another life support capsule is now available.
I think I'm like out of a life support capsule. I can't. Yeah, usually I have way more by now. But I did come into this with a level 0 weapon, so you know.
Saturated the atmosphere.
We should have enough to get to. Maybe. I don't know, actually. I'm hoping we have enough to get to 20 minutes. Yeah, we got 2 minutes.
Life support
We'll start murdering things soon whenever they decide they want to come back. So it says like successful level 4, but we're actually at level 6 because of the bonus speed. I gotta. It's level 4 in the mission, but the bonus XP will push it to 6. Where did all of my foes go? Hello, my foes. Crunch, crunch.
Prepare for life support.
I can't hear 2 sounds
Life support activated.
that go boing, boing, without thinking of. I don't even. It's my life. Not by Vanu Malesh. I don't know his name. And it's my life. It's my life. You know what I'm saying?
Another life support capsule is now available.
Oh, that's good. I would really enjoy that. I still don't think I'm using this enough. Oh, what a nightmare noise. Okay. What's with, yeah, I can see how this might be an S tier gun. Like, I got 2 mods on this, and this thing kind of a freak on a leash. Dare I say it, he's a freak off a leash. Like, I don't say that lightly, but he might be. I mean, I'm level 6 on this thing, and that guy was level 50, and I still kind of gave him the business. I ran out of ammo. That's the only reason he deigns to breathe on this mortal coil. But we can figure that out. I hope. I don't know, I feel weird about
Life support on the way. We will all
taking
share
up a
this
mod slot
bounty.
just to
Hold out
reload
as
a
long
little
as you can.
faster. And or have a bigger clip or ammo drum magazine thingy. And do we need to do that once more? I don't know. We'll just give the ISO vault a go and see. Oh, also I wrote down everything I need, the updated version, because for some reason I forgot stuff that I needed for the Necromech when I wrote it down. Nothing. Actually, that was a lie. I was gonna say nothing too crazy, but then I remembered the part that's much more difficult. So we were close, and we're still kinda close. The only problem is now I need to rank up with the Entrati twice, which is a lot. So actually, I guess I should be leveling up there. I should just do bounties. If I can remember where I wrote this shit down. I need another bookmark. I'm using my current bookmark because I'm reading a book. Crazy. Oh yeah, shit. Okay, so we need a total of 62k standing. Which 620 mother tokens. I mean, I probably won't get it all from that, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe one of those ones where you just keep going. I wonder if... Oh. We didn't get any space.
Do not drink the kabuchi. You are incapable.
My favorite dialogue.
The effort required to unstick you.
Like, this part's great too, but him coming in and being like, when you are in Cetus, do not drink the kabuki. Kabuchi? It's just really... He comes in with so much urgency. Oh, I only get 1 capacity. I feel like this guy just... I mean, he got like 8, 7? I don't know how much I had. But I don't know. It's fine. Should I change this? I wonder... let's see. If I take this off, how much... Oh, I can't afford to hold you. I can't afford to hold you. Okay, well, never mind then. I'll worry about it later. Oh, I should try these. Kill 6 unalerted Tusk ballistas with a headshot. I should get a snipering rifling for that, I guess. Just hypothetically, if I type in, like, ammo. It's all just like, yeah, I mean, like, I get more ammo, but, like... Well, how much more? Ammo maximum. Nothing changed? Hello? What? Magazine. I don't know. I don't know. Does it not show the maximum ammo here? Oh. Oh. Does it? What? It doesn't tell you how much mammo you have? Miamo you have? Weird. It probably should do that. I'm just gonna put this on just to have something. And then let's just go... Okay. Let's do... Oh, we're so close to a mastery rank. Okay. Let's do... Bounties. I was just stalling for time because I couldn't remember the word. I literally could not pull it up into my brain. Cool. Yeah, we'll just do like lower bounties and hope we can survive. I don't know. Sometimes I just have trouble getting through even the low-level bounties because anytime I have to protect something, it really truly is made out of the worst materials they could farm in the galaxy. Oh, ew, gooey.
Yes, there are bounties. If you have the interest.
Yeah? Okay, so let's see. We need, ignoring the standing, ignore the standing, we need, I think, one more scintillant. I still need to figure out what Vernato alloy is. I assume it's on a different planet. We need a damaged necromech engine, a damaged necromech pod, a couple more spinal core sections. I think we'll just get those by doing this. We need cranial foremounts, which was from fishing, I believe. Yeah, fishing my zostomatas. And then, yeah, there's many mother tokens as a mother could smother. I might do some of this off camera. The mother token part specifically. But we'll see. I think we'll start with just exploring and leveling up and checking out our mission options. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was talking about my thing. Oh, excavators. I can do excavators. Be on the lookout for home. For whom?
I have detected a high concentration of resources in this area. Dispatching excavator units for exploitation.
Oh, I think the bullets on this explode. Oh, I guess you could be saved.
A pharaoh predicite, menacing in the field. Rather adorable when asleep, don't you think?
Nope. Stop. Well, these guys are carrying batteries, so that seems like a good start. Ugh. Emerge your dirty thingy so I can shoot it. That works too. Emerge your dirty thingy so I can shoot it. I did not realize the bullets were exploding. What the fuck? Oh my god. He's fine. You didn't even have a battery? Why are you here? Shut up. Ooh, Endor. Okay, I think we'll, I don't know. I still feel like, it still feels kind of sluggish, even though we're not failing necessarily. I don't know, maybe I'm trying to do these too fast. I'm expecting them to go too quick. And then when I don't like obliterate the mission in 2 seconds, I'm like, well, we failed. Why would I want to do this again? The reality is, I'm an impatient little baby.
An excavator has completed its digging
I
cycle.
thought it died. Red? Oh. Thank you. And I think there was another one over here. I thought, but perhaps I was incorrect. Yeah, we got that Monkey D. Luffy arm. I didn't check how much ammo I had to start. To see if that actually changed anything. I mean, I assume it did. I think it just doesn't tell you. Which is weird, and it should. Just don't use your penis powers on me. But he's trying to abduct my shit. Oh, we're full up. Woo! Oh! Hello.
A full cycle has been made by
We made it through a mission.
outstanding.
Yahoo!
Okay then, Mr. Smarty Pants.
Okay,
All of
what?
the
Were you mad at me?
excavators made it through their cycles. You rocket this. Pun fully intended.
You rocket this. That's crazy.
I am detecting Grenier transmissions in the air.
Ew!
Somewhat panicked ones, to be precise. Please investigate and render assistance. We are mutual enemies of the infestation.
Okay. If I have to. Oh, I should keep an eye out for Finch. Finch. I don't know where the fish I desire appear. I also don't know if there's like an in-game compendium of knowing where the hell I want to fish things at. Are they in the goo sometimes? Who are you? You're Gluttonox, so true. Is it this one? Plumb the depths with this crafty fishing speed that's barely detectable to infested and hybrid infested Orokin fish, due to its infected aspect, it's one of the only things that only pass through, or presumably pass through that goo. Get owned. I mean, you're not who I need, but I just wanted to prove to myself I could do it if I put my mind. What the hell? Gamer reads. You are too much eyeball. Like, the percentage of your body that's eyeball is too high. Like, I hope that's not offensive. But, get smaller eyed balls, I guess.
Oh,
There's no way these guys live. These guys are fucking screwed.
close and not dead yet.
Double grenadiers killed down. Hello.
We kill infested. You kill
What is this?
infested.
Oh, it's a dog.
See
You'll be alright.
who's best. Yes?
Bars?
A little overzealous there, Tenno. You
Your
were
mom.
not supposed to massacre it.
Your mom.
Tenno,
Your mom.
not so fierce, huh?
I'm winning. I'm winning. Don't make me get competitive. I'll just kill you. I won't do that. That doesn't seem... I don't know. I think killing your opponent isn't that honorable. I think you might be able to make an argument for that. I mean, he's not dying, but he still kind of is. If an enemy lasts near him longer than half a second, he kind of gets his shit pushed in a little. If I just get to 100, are we free? I feel like we just kill before, like, you know, just stay dialed in for this one. But he's so squishy. Daft Punk? They're back. My kill, no, mine, wait, no, my kill, mine, my kill. There's still so many enemies. Okay, it's fine, we got it. I don't know, how does Garb help?
Doubled the Grineer's kill count and saved the day. A salutary lesson in lethality, I'm sure they won't forget.
They probably will. I'm gonna be killing Garv
According
soon.
to the scan data, this is the final location. Whatever is buried here represents the most unique anomaly detected. Please proceed with extraction.
I thought it was just a caution, but I made the mistake of thinking he cared.
We call this a purifier.
Oh, this one, okay. Alright, let's try to do this quick.
Local fauna in order to extract data.
Oh wait, but I need the juice.
If Mr. Scratchikins pays us a visit and plays too long, the
Literally
purifier's
who?
gonna stop working.
Are they all Mr. Scratchikins? Are they a collective of Mr. Scratchikins? Are the hive... I mean, are the infestation just a hive mind? I don't know. Actually, genuinely, I don't know if they're like a hive mind type thing or they're just all like deranged little psychos. Did I go good? Ugh, this is the problem with this mission. Is like I need to go grab this stuff while I'm purifying, but like feels like this thing's just gonna get funked. But that's probably another thing where I'm probably maybe rushing too much. I don't know if nothing ever stops spawning makes it a lot harder. Like even with one other person here, just being able to sit here and watch the thing, it's so much easier. But you know, that's. I mean, in that regard, you get what you get when you pick solo. So, can't complain. Oh, they're on the map. That is way more helpful. You bitch, you cow! I'm using my abilities enough. I acknowledge this. I see that. I know that. I'll do better. Maybe. I'll think about it at the very least. Damn it. Alright, one last shot to get 3 should be doable. Unless it just dies, then very much so not doable. Just rush it, I guess. No, it's good. It's healing. Everything's fine. We got it.
Completed and ready.
Oh, skin point. Nice. Okay, we got what we needed.
This data is excellent.
Lloyd tells me you have retrieved the samples I wanted.
Who?
I am pleased. I suppose you should have a reward for your efforts.
Okay. Actually, I won't mark anything off until we actually get back into the place with it. So do I get 15 plus the ones I... No. I only got 18. It said I'd get 15, but I got 18. So they over-delivered. I thought I got maybe 15 just for finishing total. And then anything else I get is extra. I mean, it's fine either way. I got more than they said I did. Alright, so let's just, you know, check out our mission options. Help. Ugh.
You are here to assist.
Like,
I can't say I blame you.
Okay. Perusing my options.
There's so much to be done
Okay, we got
here on
something
Deimos.
here. 25 to 30? You got way more for higher level. Okay, wait, maybe we should just do that then. Like, I got 132 for this. 82. Argon Scope. What is that? Oh, the right mod. Zaku. I can get some lenses. I'm gonna do this one just because I'm not... I don't know. Something about being on Deimos, man. I just do not know what I can handle here. Sometimes everything goes fine. Sometimes everything dies rapidly.
Locating and securing one of these places will help the reclamation. Lloyd can give you the details.
This guy doesn't get paid enough.
Finding the parts necessary to make bait should not be too hard. Take down a few infested and look for parts.
Something I can do. Murder. Left click people. I am capable. No, the protecting part maybe not so much. Reload the damn gun. Oh, I thought I was reloading. I was just walking at him menacingly. Classic. I hate that guy. Alright, I really gotta keep my stacks up. I'm not using my abilities nearly enough, especially because I get more energy for... why did you fall down? You look silly. I get more energy just for taking damage, so I should constantly be spamming my one. I'm being inefficient. Oh, I got it.
This will draw more investment. Dispatch them while they are close to the vessel in order to...
Oh, we're fucked. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to, like, health damage equals, you know, energy. My energy seems to not be going up, though, which I'm a little confused by. Like, I'm definitely taking damage. I still have 2 energy. I've never understood something less. I mean, more? I mean, less. Double negatives really fry my skull.
Eliminate it to fulfill mission parameters.
Well, you can't have invulnerable shoulders. That's your whole bag, my mans. The vulnerabilities of your shoulders are paramount.
Congratulations on a job well done.
I thought there was a thing coming at me. I didn't.
In my defense,
Who the?
there's no indication of a second entity, let alone one so unpleasant.
You suck, man.
Researcher Latrox Oom.
I love him.
To assist our reclamation.
I'm dying
Please
so
protect him
much.
while he conducts the necessary survey.
Latrox Oom. Gosh, her name was cool. From this way is probably better. Still learning the map. I opened Overframe just in case I needed it during the stream, and I saw that apparently Dante Unbound he's lower. He's going down. He was in S tier. I guess they just start in S tier if they're brand new, and then the votes come in. I thought he's dying so fast. Hi, Latrox. Yeah, at least he's got the shield thing. Keep the drone alive. I will do my fucking damnedest. I mean, I feel like Latrox Oon probably works for some evil MFers, but he sure does got a can-do attitude and a good disposition. Maybe. I mean, I haven't been paying that much attention. Maybe I just like his name. I want to level my gun, but there are too many motherfuckers. This Latrox Oon, I think he doesn't always have a shield. That is like a problem. Like, he gets bodied so hard. When he has a shield, the shield spray, it is a laugh. It is a laugh riot. What the hell? Venus Mountain? I can't. I'm so overwhelmed. Behind the penis and under the testicles.
That's more than enough. I'm in your
Eat this. Gargantuan. I'm a normal size for a metal man to be fucking Franklin. Oh! 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 This is a good combo, actually, because we got the high single target damage and the other thing that's less single target. The opposite of that, I know the word, I just have decided to forget it right now. I'll remember it later when I'm not busy. You alright? You seem like you're getting absolved into heaven. Which I assume is fine. But I can't guarantee it's fine. I've never been. If I'd been to heaven before, I'd let you know. I'd let everyone know. Like, that's pretty chill. But I just don't have access to that intel. I keep holding left click like it's like my gun's reload. I did it twice now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, no, he died. You good? Feel like the uploading is slowed down significantly? Okay. Sorry for complaining.
science and your enchanted friend owe you a debt. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Excellent work.
600 Endo.
With Latrox's help,
Beautiful.
we now have full scan
Always need
data
Endo.
area around the base.
Alright.
proximity to the base location. Once I reactivate the dormant elements,
Die.
it will attempt to prevent completion of the process. Prepare for area defense.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Lloyd. I was looking at like a floating demon pomegranate. It was a whole thing. Nice. Hold up. I'm gonna fish with this. Fish might be something I just look up because, like, as far as I know, unless I just never found it, there's like no indication of where to catch these things.
Please keep the established perimeter secure. Thank you.
You're welcome. I feel like I have a severe lack of energy considering like 40%. I feel like 40% of my energy should be coming back to me, or damage taken should be coming back as energy, and I feel like I'm getting a clean 0 sometimes. I'm just swinging. I don't know where it is. Okay. Get off. God damn, I did the same thing. I thought I had the Excel through. One day I'll learn. Where'd he go? Oh, he's bending. Like Beckham. I understand. There's been a lot of Fairliac pods.
Eliminated more than half of them. Keep it up.
Like, I don't think we need them. Or maybe we'll never need them for anything else, but Lobo Triskid. That's how I feel about that. I missed on purpose, it was tactical. Any of the fish I need by chance? All the enemies appear to have gone home. These ones don't count. They live here. Oh! I guess you always have a high power single target type situation if you have a decent amp and I guess that ability on your operator. I don't know. I don't know how strong it gets without. Like, I feel like the only reason I can do anything with my operator is because I have that ability. But I don't know if maybe that just having a. I don't know. Maybe it's because my amp sucks, so it just doesn't generally feel that great. Or maybe not great, but strong.
All clear.
We did it.
Tells me there are strong connections
My
across
bullets,
the network.
they're sharp. I think
Reclamation
that's a new
is
mod. I don't think I've ever seen that.
A crushing and comprehensive victory.
I did
The
it.
invested have lost their appetite for now.
I can't see past my own damn hand. All right. 63 Mama tokens. We are 10% of the way. Yeah, maiming strike and critical strike chance for slide. Okay, well no, but sharpened bullets on kill crit damage when aim. Oh, for pistols though. I mean, sounds fine, but not hugely what I'm looking for. What is this noise? Stop that. I can't make it any more clear that I did not like you doing that to me. Alright. Let's see what other options we got. I think we get this thing to max level, we can start really tearing ass. Oh, excuse me. Hiccups. Oh no! Oh god! So I don't know if it's random what missions are where, or if I need to go to specific ones. Complete Isolation Vault Tier 2 to unlock this bounty. Isolation Vault Tier 2. Well, we should probably do Tier 1 first. Many resources, cancel, line abandoned. Claiming on demos, find them and they're yours. Maiming strike, bladed rounds. I mean, it's probably also for pistols. It's a rifle, 120% crit damage when aiming for 9 seconds. Like total or just like at once? Because that sounds like too much. This is all the same, reward-wise. Wait, I saw the words necromech. Oh, I can get the weapon stock from this. Oh. Maybe this is where you have to get it. So I should really be... doing these. I don't know, can I? Do I think I can handle it? I don't...
Yes, definitely the better part of that.
I feel like I still need more levels on these Seltra. I mean, it's rank 8. Like, it's doing good, but it's not like... I mean, there's obviously potential to be had still. What is this? I don't like looking at it. Who said that? Well, I'm convulsing? I mean, that guy's, like, dead as shit, which is cool, but... I don't know. The problem is I'm not leveling up very fast, but I also feel, like, obligated to do this because I'm at least getting the mother tokens.
Perhaps it's just as well.
But I think maybe... I don't know, I'm thinking long term, it might be better just go level up somewhere where you can level up fast, bring in the better version of the gun, do harder missions. Like, splitting up the task of leveling up and getting mother tokens might make it faster to do them both individually, if that makes sense. I get the mother tokens on their own, I can level up on their own, and it's ultimately faster than trying to do both at once, just because of the way the game is designed. I think that's how it feels. I don't know if that's true. But let's quickly... I guess just trade some stuff in.
Shall we?
Sure, I don't know. Maybe. Is this worth it? What's the grandmother token worth? 400?
Maybe later.
Oh no, 15. Okay, wait a minute, never mind. Well, no, is that worth it? Because, like, what was that? 10 O-Tax is 1,000. 10 mothers is 1,000, so it's 2,000. Oh, but then I get two of them back, so no, it is worth it because that's 3,000 standing. So I profit on standing. So yeah, no, it's worth it.
Been in storage for years. I hope it's still good.
Glynort. Call me Glynort. Noid and 2 other games are on sale. I can't buy more games. I'm still buying no games. Still trying to 100% fucking Pac-Man. Pac-Man Museum Plus has some fucking villainous achievements. Specifically the one for getting all the missions on in Pac-and-Pal. Which is evil. That game's hard as hell. And outdated as shit. Okay, so this changes. But I got 3 grandmother tokens. Oh, but it's a bunch of stuff that I don't even cared about too much. Like, none of this... Okay, yeah, no, wait, I'm all over this.
More than ready.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff.
And not a moment too soon. Bravo, dear.
3 O-Tech tokens. So now I can do this one.
Have a chinwag.
Yeah, so okay. So 10 OTAC tokens is 1,000. One grandmother token is 1,500. So I profit there. And then this one is 2,000 for, like, I'm giving up 2K, but I get 2. So that's 3,000 back. Simple math. But it helps me to know that, I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't, I don't know. There might be trades where you get less, but it's more about getting the grandmother tokens for buying other stuff. But maybe they're all profitable.
Did you come to talk about mining?
I mean, it would make sense.
How did you know that's my favorite subject?
But, I don't know for sure. I'd want to know for sure. It makes sense that it's that way, but I just want to be sure.
Mining is good.
I want to.
Miner, Chip. Keep on mining.
Necrothane new. As tempting as it is, I want to do the ones that I feel like I'm well ahead of. Wait, this one looks good.
See? I knew we were friends.
This one looks alright. I know I need Namelon, but I think we can do it. We got a bunch from like one trip.
Gratitude, you.
I believe he means to say thank you.
Okay, so
Oh, play it. See you again.
plan.
Go on, dear. Oh well.
Let's
I'll
do
be right here. Gather
some
you back.
trades with father and see if he loud ass snores.
Sure.
Ha! Yeah! Sure! Ha!
Get over.
Yeah! Ha! Shut the fuck up. That's you.
You can't out-evolve Deimos,
Wrong.
but you can procure what you need to survive.
Yeah, this guy's got like some dank little deals. I have so much random. Yeah, we're freaking balling shot calling. Okay, so that's what this is for. He wants the residue for, so okay. I was wondering, because there's like rewards for stuff, and I didn't know what this was for. Yeah, we can just stack up on fatherly tokens. I just have a lot of all of this stuff.
Remember, this keep safe.
This never happened. I mean, it was like, what are you building? Like a freaking bomb in your basement? Like, the secretiveness is weird.
Very well.
I click the wrong button constantly. So yeah, it's another thing where it's like, yeah, that's just well worth it to do the trade there.
Magnificent.
No tanks. Okay, so I guess that's kind of, that'll be our kind of go-to. Does that refresh it daily? How often does this refresh?
Being here so long, it's difficult to.
Oh, a couple hours. Oh, it all varies. Or it's on a day.
Okay, maybe not today. Be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Okay, so and then to rank up, we need to get. I think we need to get the friend. I think. Or no, do we? Wait, let me check actually. No, I think no. I know we need to go up one level because we need the. Hold up. We need.
We are good friends.
Nope.
It's good to have good friends.
Yeah, we need Trapezium Zenerhost, which is associate. Yeah, okay, so we need associate. Oh, mine eyeball. What? This is 8,000? These are 8,000? Did I write down 8,000? Oh, no, I did. I wrote down 4,000. I don't know. Other things are 4,000. I'm all over the place. Oh, Namelon.
Shrewd.
But,
Together, we will build the future.
alright, let's trade in tokens. All these. Nice. Then I guess we... Oh, no, never mind. It's all 100, right? Yeah. Nothing changes. Oh, no, sun tokens are more. I mean... Probably because he's an annoying asshole. The hardest one to deal with. Hypothetically, how much is that? Oh, right, though. put a dang zero, put 2 dang zeros on it. I can do math. I actually can't. I really struggle with math. I'm not equipped for it. Let's just do like 30 for now. I want to keep like some for any trades that come up, but like we get so many more of these, I don't mind trading them in. Plus, I want to, you know, redeem some of the stuff, so I'm using up some of my daily standing every day. It feels like I'm, you know, not wasting it.
I'll see what else I can unearth for you.
Okay, so now let's mark some things off.
It'd be great. Do great things.
Should we go for just getting the rank up first? Does it matter? We might get a free thing. Maybe the free thing will matter.
Let us negotiate.
Any common activate tags and a sun token. Ugh. Ugh. There's 7k left. I could go for it and figure out this hunting situation.
Until our next appointment.
Alright.
Deimos is unfolding before us like a puzzle. Oh, hey. Heading for the ventricle. If you find an interesting sample or two out in the chamber, say a Vulpaphyla or Avocaea, I'd love a closer look. I can kit you out so it's a more pleasurable indeed.
Okay, I guess let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. Adapts the Predacite to game. I think this is for after. So you can make like your pets. Deploy just before using the Echo Lure to increase the chance of attracting a rarer subspecies of Avocaea. No, I just need an Avocaea. But I need standing to get this. But is this one? Oh, I have one. Okay.
As you wish.
Alright, we're gonna figure. I've never hunted in Warframe. Chill, weirdo. I probably need to equip that? Okay. We're gonna figure this out. We'll just, yeah, we'll leave. We'll go equip any hunting things we have already. We'll just hunt for a while and collect stuff and hope we get enough for, so one of his trades, because we need, like, I mean, obviously more would help, but we don't need that many things from him.
Ready to kick.
Bottom.
Okay. I feel like it should have been the other way around. Like, the ready to kick should have been the angry part, and then the bottom should have been Ordis, right? Am I tripping? What did I have equipped here before? Don't you touch that die. Oh, Breakpoint Strike. Let's do that for now. It's not a biggie. It's not a biggie. I need... My energy feels... I feel like I'm just not getting as much energy as I should be. I don't know. Oh, I don't have Hunter Adrenaline equipped. That makes a lot more fucking sense now, doesn't it? I don't have it on. I'm insufferably foolish. Shadang. I forgot I had a shade. Actually, while I have that in my mind, let me actually equip you. Do you need... I think you could just hang out and you'll get XP. And he'll get more if there's less... Like, if he doesn't have things. I think. What up is your boy Ash Ketchum? What's up, Ash Ketchum? How are you? Cloak's owner, when enemies are within 14 meters, the cloak is disruptive owner attacks. Alright, Shade, you're garbage. Shade, you're garbage. Just suck things up for me. Sentinel will not attack an enemy unless that enemy isn't... I mean, you can't. I refuse to give you a weapon. Spare shards. He'll just give me more items. I just level them up. Alright, let's go to main. My brain is melting. How's it going, Micah? How's the day treating you? You feeling any better? Okay, add a gear item. How do I know what planet it's for? Or maybe all the planets have, like, these are just, like, weird mutated ones? I don't know. I'm sure it'll let me know somehow. Maybe. Pheromone Uta. Pobbers! But I could just hold the... Suddenly automatically available from the gear menu while tracking animals. Yes! I guess I have tried to hunt once, right? Remote Observer. Deploys a short-lived remote camera that overrides your Warframe optics. Oh, hell yeah, for making RSMVs. Yes and no, I feel like I've been hit by a container ship, but it'll pass tomorrow, hopefully. Ugh. I feel you. Hopefully it improves quick, it's no good. Drink lots of water. Watch lots of hentai. Starburst. Celebrate the holiday with fireworks. Light up the sky with a single-use consumable item. I want one. I want one, at least. So I don't know how hunting works at all. I have like 300, almost 400 hours in this game. Never done diddlied. Actually, no, I did track a fella. I tracked guys on place I can't remember. What do you do? What is everyone's little effect? Increases ammo capacity and converts ammo pickups into ammo for equipped weapons after 5 seconds. Oh, okay, that might actually be exactly what I want with my current issue. Honestly, don't really care about him living longer. Well, I guess I, sort of do, I guess. And then we don't care for a gun. We don't worry about that. And then we change his appearance because he has cool skins for sure. What the hell? Are those his eyeballs? Is this what Ordis looks like? Who the hell? It's like a infested version of one of those little bird things that doesn't drink the water. This guy's just pissed off. Mask. Oh, the mask is on the back. Sure, man. Wings. Gross! Very disgusting. Tail. Yep. That's what you look like now. It's just randomized some colors. Oh, it doesn't affect the whole thing. I guess that makes sense. Does it? Wait, maybe it doesn't. Oh, no. Yeah, it does, because the main colors are here. My ham! My holiday ham! It was right here! Sure. And then we go, not skins, and then we just copy. Yeah, he looks epic to own and to hold. Oh yeah, I need this on. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, and then equip, nope. Appearance, nope. Appearance. Sigils. Visero Sakara. So nice I equipped it twice. Material, structure, and colors. Oh, I didn't even notice I had that option here, which I don't know how I missed that. Nope, never mind. I thought I was getting that mixed up with the other thing that some of them have. Material, structures, and colors is just what that's called. And I never read it until now. I was thinking of the thing Rhino has. What is that called? Use like all these extra things. Cool. I think you'll find, Micah, that I'm terrible at talking to my chat. I'm a recluse. I'm a wreck, and I isolate myself from the entire point of streaming for most people. So if I'm terrible at maintaining or engaging in conversation, that's kind of just me. I'm not good at that. But I hope I hope you recover quickly. And I love you. And I think we should get married. But that might be too, like, speedy. I don't know. I'm just bad at conversation. I never know what to say. I think small talk is just like, this is exhausting, dude. I'd prefer to talk about substantial things, but I feel like this is not the environment for that. I can afford something. 60 to 70%. Yep, true. Increases amp energy. Second ability emits a void wave lasting 1 to 1.5 seconds that drenches enemies with void contamination, making them 40 to 40% more vulnerable to operator damage. I feel like sometimes that just doesn't work. Or maybe there isn't like a debuff and it is there and I just can't see it. I think let's just get more juice. I love you too. Babe, oh my god, you're embarrassing me. No, don't turn that on. I'm not a dirty Varzarin. Which ones do I want to unlock? These ones, I can't afford it. Okay. Okay, let's level up this gun, because this gun needs to be gooder. 25% reload speed while sprinting. Bonus doubled when wielded by Goss. Who reloads while sprinting? That sounds harder to do. I've never reloaded a rifle before. A rifle! But I can't imagine it's easier to do when your hands are full. I mean, while you're running fast. But I've never run fast a day in my life. I mean, look at me. Hey, a rank up.
Don't stop believing, dreamers.
Obviously copyrighted. Efficient beams. Convectrix? Oh? I kind of like this thing. I'm not gonna buy it. I'd rather, like I said, be a glyph, but it's pretty sick. Music is kind of spooky. Hey. What's up? Maybe I'll save it for an Orokin reactor. Because they're, well, I don't know. When's the next time? I mean, I'm pretty into this frame. I mean, at least for now. I guess there's better ones. Heard that Mesa Prime fella's kind of a dirty cheater. Alright, let's hop in the Cadillac. Girl, let's put some miles on it. Anything you want. Just to put a smile on it. I just don't want to fight stinkers. What are they called? Stinkers. What are they called? Stinkers? These guys. Stinker infested. I got it. Bars? Damn, he's spitting. Y'all hear that? Tier 4 fissure in my goddamn ass. Appears you got a tier 4 fissure in your goddamn ass. Thanks, Doc. Wait, is this, what level is this? That's okay. I just want the XP. I want something that has an XP boof. It's all infested. All the ones that have XP buffs are all dirty little infested missions. I'm sick of fighting infested. They're gross. They get their gross little goo everywhere. They suck to look at. They're vile and they probably smell like shit. Why they not, all the bonuses are funkin' and funsted. Mutilus the lad v assassinate. It's all that. It's all the Okay, well, Eris is just, I think it's a stinky planet. Like, this is a Grenier-focused planet, but then the ones that have bonus XP are little freakers. Maybe that's intentional, because they're, like, the hardest ones.
I'm very excited now. The anticipation. Ooh, I always learn so much from a live dissection.
I don't believe that at all. How much could you learn? You can't learn so much every time. Every time you learn so much. Liar. Survival. Bonus XP infestation. Is that just how it's always been and I just never noticed? Alright, whatever. Let's go Pluto. Let's just do an extermination, I guess. I mean, the problem, I need the XP. The XP is the point. No, I can't just, the XP is the whole point. I can't just... Okay, we'll do this one. At least we'll have a change of scenery. I don't want to be in a claustrophobic-ass ship or in, like, gross anus-esque tunnels. My therapist once described me as anus-esque.
You must defend our equipment until reinforcements arrive.
I fired them, but they were right. Oh, so much screaming. That's also a big downside for the infested. Always screaming, those guys. Yeah, wow. Those exploding bullets sure are something. There's like a little AoE burst thing going on. I'm not tripping on that. Maybe not. Or no, maybe that's to hit something. You know what? I actually can't tell. Now I feel like I'm just wrong. I'm overthinking it. I'm already out of ammo. Oh no. Okay, well hopefully Carrier will make up the difference a bit. Remember to use my 1. Now that I actually have Hunter's Adrenaline on, I'll be constantly getting my Adrenaline back. Stack up. Shoot a baby in the head. That was a baby. This game looks sick. This is also cross-platform if you wanted to try it. The only reason I didn't suggest it is it's pretty involved. And it can get pretty grindy, but I really like this game. But if you wanted to try it, it is a free and also cross-platform game. For context for other people who might be here, me and Micah have been looking for cross-platform games to play now that we've rekindled our friendship. Why is there always a weird... Was he doing something? He looks like he's charging up a little move. Or at least thinking real hard about something. What is this? Oh no, he's doing something. He's got like a little lightning bolt happening. I don't know how this game plays on controller. I've never tried it. But it is a great game. And I mean, if you're interested... Oh, it's down. It's just like, you know, cyborg space ninjas committing mass murder for fun. But I think it'll be fun to play for a bit. I think it's very... I think the game like Warframe definitely doesn't appeal to everybody. Because I think part of it is like, there's a lot of goals to accomplish, but it's... You can go down a rabbit hole so easily. And then it might be too many things to do. Or just, like, not enough interest in doing certain things, which is fair. How are we doing on XP? It's fine. We're getting there. I mean, it's exponential, surely. I mean, once we get past the first few waves, I imagine it'll get better, I hope. Yeah, I mean, it must. The enemies will be stronger, and thus the XP will be increased. It's simply math. with too many blow-up boys. I feel like my aim is pure garbage. I think carrier's keeping me in the mix way better, actually. As long as I'm not moving too much. Oh, I thought that thing was very much alive. Wow, 49-17? Have you ever seen numbers like this? Can you smell? I think you don't need to quote any more of that. Like, you don't need "Can you smell what the rock is cooking?" I think "Can you smell?" That's it. That's all you need. I'm out of juice. You appear to not be being harmed. That is my least favorite feature about you, is your inability to be killed. Oh. Yeah, but the real beefers, the gun isn't really putting it down yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. List T10. Tatsu. I think I'll continue fighting. I think I'll have one now. I think I'll try one now. I think I'll try one. Yeah. Actually, knowing I'll just get my energy back, not just because my one gives me my energy back, but also because inevitably I will be harmed, is such a mental weight off. I'm like, why? I don't need to manage my energy. I mashed the one key. Energy management? Like, with Trinity, you had to, like, use your 2, you know, get your vampire energy. Really think about it. Make sure you don't use too much, or you won't be able to use your 2 and get your energy back, and then you're just out of luck until you get drops. This guy, you just eat damage and spam your 1 and never get punished, and that guy's spine is mine now, I guess. Nice cock. I think I'll take it. Actually, wait, you may say I think I'll keep it. I don't know. It was a good meme, though. The nice cock meme never really did much for me, but the one of Mordekaiser saying he's gonna steal your penis is very funny. Oh. Uh-oh. The shield has been penetrated. Please smite my foe. Yo. Oh my god, that dude, when you just like fill a bitch with lead and he's just sitting there doing the stagger dance in his goddamn stagger pants. That's good eats. When he knows not but suffering. All is right in the world. This is fun. AC-130 gameplay in Modern Warfare 2. The missing is part of it. No one said it was good. Whenever I think of Modern Warfare 2, I think of a time that me and my brother played Modern Warfare 2 with one of my friends and his older brother. So it was like me and my older brother and him and his older brother. We did like a 2v2 on Terminal in Modern Warfare 2. And they did not, no, none of them played video games as often as me, which was the number one sign I was gonna be a social recluse to the core. A hermit in the heart. But nonetheless, we were playing Terminal, and I just have this distinct memory of my friend Colin just suffering in agony as I got enough of a kill streak to get a chopper gunner, and they just kept spawning at the back end of the airplane on Terminal, and I just like pointed it at the spawn, and he just respawned, died, respawned, died, and he's just having a real bad time. But like in a funny way, like, you know, wasn't actually torturing my friend as much as I would have liked to. Don't tell him I said that. I talked to Colin in a hot minute. That was a chill dude. Actually, the last time I saw him was we were at the same. I gotta regret it. We were at the same. There was like a fireworks show in the town we live nearby, and I was there with someone else. Like, they had invited me to go, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I never do anything. And then I was kind of in a, I don't know, I wasn't in a bad mood, but I was in, like, my head about everything, socially anxious, and, like, you know, that kind of stuff, feeling like I didn't belong type beat. So I kind of, and also my knees hurt because a lot of walking. So I was like, I'm gonna go find somewhere to sit with the people I came with. And I'll be here with you guys whenever you guys are done over doing what you're doing. And I walked past my friend Colin. He was like, hey, Jake. And I looked up because I was staring at the ground as one does. As I do. Me and the ground are good friends. And I was like stun locked. And I like kind of said something, but I kept walking at the same. Like, I didn't stop to have a conversation, which I regret not doing. Because, I mean, it's a good friend. And I think about that sometimes and feel a tinge of regret every time. All to say is, you know, value your friends. I mean, not that I don't. I haven't seen him in a coon's age. I don't, is this a slur? Can he say that? Colin was a great dude. I haven't, yeah, but other than that, I mean, he's been, it's one of those things where just life takes you in different directions, so I'm not, like, bitter about it. I'm just like, you know, there was an opportunity, and I just kind of regret not taking it. But I was also having a bad night, so I'm not going to give myself too much. I don't know. I wasn't having a bad night. I was just in my head in that moment. And also already socially anxious. So many people, man. Oh, my God. I mean, it was a festival, but also, golly, the back area was the worst. The area I had just come from, there were people fucking, like, packed in. Ugh. Just thinking about it is making my, giving me goose pimples.
Extraction is ready.
Lith R5.
And more of the enemy.
I feel like this is, a Revenant Prime, I feel like I have a lot of these. I'm getting some Tatsu stuff. I got 2 Tatsus. We're gonna keep battling. I want experience points. I need to use my Exceltra more. Hopefully from here we start getting like notable amounts more XP, but I don't know. I think I'm not using my gun enough for sure. Or the gun I actually want to level up. But also ammo. I should either be using my 1 or using the Exceltra. Out of interest, Michael, what is a coon's age? I feel like I can't say that. Watching a baby eat Cheerios is funny as fuck. I love that with no context. Babies are silly little fellas. I wonder what kind of, I mean, like, if you could read a baby's mind, I wonder what you'd get in there. Like, I wonder how cohesive a baby's thoughts are. Or if it's like the way they talk and it's just kind of inane babbling. But, like, kind of with a purpose sometimes, I gather. But I don't know. I've never had a baby. I don't think I'd want a baby. That'd be a terrible father. I'm much too messed up in my head. That raccoons only live so long, I don't know where they go. Oh, okay, so it's like a short-ish amount of time. I understand. It's just that coon is also a slur for, blacks. These humans are gross. That's fair. Why are you so tall for? I just want to know what a baby's thinking about. But I think maybe the time, if we ever get to a point where we can read human minds, that's probably like a sign that humanity's on the way out. It sounds just too existential, nightmarish. It's just, I don't know, something about it puts the fear of God in me. I also don't know what the fear of God means. Am I supposed to be scared of God? That guy kind of sounds like a poser. I'll take his ass out. I hope he knows I pack a chainsaw. I'll skin his ass raw. I'll break his fucking face tonight. I thought my carrier was like, when I had him like in this spot, I thought he was on the ledge up there, and I thought there was a whole new enemy that was the size of a fucking McDonald's restaurant coming at me. I couldn't think of any other things to compare him to. Other than, it was large. It's a big building. And with a playpen, might I add. Pen? That sounds like, you know, prison-y. Playpen? Place? That sounds better. Not leveling up as much as I would hope. Maybe I do. Oh my god. Maybe I do just gotta bite the bullet and go to that last mission. Or maybe this has increased experience rates to offset how powerful it'll get very soon. Yes, I'm coping, yes. I mean, it was an S-tier gun. I mean, it's doing pretty. I mean, like, I say that like it's not doing well. It is doing well. Would I describe this as an S-tier performance? No, but it's literally level 9. I mean, it says level 10 there, but that's what the bonus XP. It's level 9 in the mission. Right now. Fucker. Sorry I called you fucker. You're just being a fucker is all. Zoinks. This is the unfortunate moment where I don't have Exceltra bullets or energy. So I just have to kind of swang on them. Ew. Don't open your chest at me. Don't fall apart. Open your chest. More strength. I'm kind of surprised I'm not taking more damage. I feel like I should be getting bodied harder. I'm just gonna get rid of this guy. I'm pretty sure the mercy kill XP goes to... I mean, yeah, it goes to the frame. That just makes sense. Where else would it go? There's a thing eating me? Get off. No one eats me but me. It's a rule I will abide by always. When I go, I'm eating a piece of my damn self, thus completing the ritual and unlocking life 2. I think once I get this ammo situation figured out and get, like, enough damage to... I mean, yeah, the only 2 pain points are the ammo and when the enemies are large and beefy, I can feel a very dramatic damage fall off. But they're like normal fellas, they don't stand a chance. But again, that's without levels, so the fact that we're doing this at all is probably a testament to how good it's gonna get. Oh my lord, I'm out of energy again. I do this. And then I suckle one of you, and then I adjust my sitting position. And then, I guess we use the sword to, like, not, like, lose. Yeah, like, see, when we have all these, like, big freaks, we're really struggling to tear through them. I don't like we're getting there, but I mean, maybe that's more incentive to just hold down left click on them until we get it done, because, I don't know, how much XP do we get? Yeah, we jumped up like, well, I didn't see the exact number, but went from 1600 to 1700, so it was a number. How am I devoid of energy? All I've been doing is getting owned. Nah, nice jump. You jump right over the beam. I can't say I'm nothing but impressed. I mean, I'm anything. I mean, I'm everything but impressed. I'm nothing if not impressed. I'm nothing. Look at that hunk of electro meat. Is that a head? Whose? Hold up. No, it's like a chunk. Very gross. I definitely don't love Nidus's aesthetic. The whole gross, infested thing, not really my bag, but you know. I'll sacrifice aesthetic for getting the damn job done. I mean, I guess I could look into an S-tier frame as well. But, well, according to Warframe, which I, of course, have open here on the side, we got Wisp, which I did really like. I remember liking Wisp a lot when I played them in the Very Paradox, but I don't know. I don't remember what they do. Sarin. Don't know what Sarin does, but I mean, we can take a look. We can peep. We can take a peeky peep. We're not hurting none. Hello? Oh, I thought there was a guy back there.
Unless you can handle more.
Run it back. Run it back, Running Man. The beat go hard. I'm like, come again?
Continue to defend.
I can rock with the best of them. Actually, that's not true. I cannot rock with the best of them. But I can rock with anyone who's going from wave 15 to wave 30. I mean, 20. Not 30. Hold up. 30 might be a little out of my pay grade. Do I get energy for using my... I just got a bunch of energy. I don't know. I'm not using this enough, I think is the takeaway. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Maybe that was a coincidence because I just killed a bunch of guys and they dropped energy. I feel like I got a bunch. Oh wait, do I get energy for the link? No. Maybe not. Alright. let's relax a little bit. This sure is fucking violent. Where are the bullets? Oh, because I have the secondary out, it's converting it into secondary ammo. I guess that's a downside, is it's like it converts it into the ammo, but I have to be holding an empty gun. Like I don't, because it converts it into the ammo of what I'm, the type of the, based on the gun I am holding. But I don't want to just sit here with an empty gun waiting for it to transform. So I guess maybe that's not as good as it sounded. We can peruse other options. I mean, I'm not super attached to any of my sentinels. Oh, a beautiful little level. Oh, I love that when you shoot him in his damn dome and he's like, gotta love that crunch. He won't die though, is my problem with him. Yeah, no energy. Don't know where I got the energy from before then. Please give me ammo. I wonder if I'm meleeing, if it'll, because I'm not holding a gun, so I guess maybe it defaults to the last type of ammo or the type of ammo I was using last before I switched to melee, or maybe it considers me still holding the melee weapon or something. I don't know how it works. Or not the melee weapon. Sorry, my brain. It considers me still holding the primary weapon, but also my melee weapon is just in my hands for the moment. Just because of the way it works, because you can just hit like a button. Like you don't have to hit a button to switch. It doesn't matter. I can't word anything properly. Everything's fine. I'm getting all flustered and paranoid in my head. Everything's cool. I'm bad at words, but that's pretty par for the course. And par for this course is like 1,000. There's a metaphor in there somewhere. Huh? He just cheated? He just teleported? Alright, so I do this. No energy. Wait, but the guy I was merged with, like, died instantly, I think? Wait, you, tall fella. Maybe you do get energy. Yeah, I think the guy just sucked, just died too fast. Which, story of my life, am I right, fellas? My head is insane. I have to get people to sign a written release form. I don't know what that means, actually. Written release? I don't know enough legal jargon to continue this joke. Thanks for listening. Okay, let's confirm. So if I just, give you one of those. No, well, I think also there's like, someone's just draining my energy in general. But no, yeah, we're going up and up. Okay, that's more incentive to use that. I really expected to get more energy from just by virtue of existing with this many angry foes. Oh, Why are these bugs auto-tuned? Pull up auto-tuning, they bug. Bum, 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 bum. I think one big downside that contributes a surprising amount is like using Nidus is the 4. There's so much visual clutter. It's kind of just how I feel on Deimos, where there's a lot of like stuff to take in, but I can just bring part of Deimos with me, which I don't want to do. I want to leave that shit where it belongs. But I guess on Deimos, which is even like, I mean, barely belongs on Deimos. That's kind of the lore, isn't it? That they kind of want all that out of there. So I wouldn't even go that far. What is your energy? Just, you know, suck off some guys. Warframe teaches you all kinds of important life lessons like that. If your energy's low, suck off your bro. Let's commit that to memory. Good mantra to live by. Where is he going? Oh. Oh, right, they blow up. You. Where did he go? I wanted to suck that guy, but he appears to have exploded. Oh, there you are. How close do I have to be? It's not too bad. Oh, if I go out of range, he just loses it. Okay. We're learning all sorts. You gotta take all this new information in one thing at a time. It's a surprising lesson I've been learning from Smite. Like, learning a new, like, very... like... a new, like, MOBA from a brand new player. I mean, not brand new. I played Smite on and off, but I've been playing a lot more now. I've been, like, really internalizing that lesson of, like... Because I feel like, at least in my case, like, you know, if you're learning something new, you want to just, like, you want to just get it. You know, you want to just understand everything in a heartbeat. Just understand it and be, like, the paragon of, you know, the person who's ever done this thing. The absolute peak. But, first of all, obviously not realistic. And I know that, and we all probably know that. Unless you're, like, a narcissist. But, you know, that's on you. You figure it out, man. I can't. Anyway, like, cause I go into a Smite game and I'm like reading, like, especially the more complicated gods, I'm like reading their abilities and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then I gotta like start using them to like understand all the nuance and stuff. And it's, my point is, it's kind of taught me a lesson of like,
do you choose to now or continue fighting?
I mean, it's one of many things that has taught me the lesson of like, allowing yourself to learn slowly, I guess. Because I definitely have fallen into that trap of, like, just getting into something and it doesn't click right away, and I'm like, well, I'll never be able to do this. Which is fitting because I'm literally trying to learn something new right now, which is, like, very layered, and there's a lot of the parts to it. Like, I'm trying to learn a skill, but that's, like, the core of the skill, and there's, like, a lot of branching paths off of it and different things to learn. I don't want to go into it because I don't want to talk about it too much, but I don't really want to talk about it at all, really. At least not to say what it is specifically, but I don't know. It's helped me, like, when I get, like, those moments where I'm, like, learning or trying to understand it and it's just not clicking. And I'm like, just keep going. Do, like, 30 minutes to an hour every day. So I understand some concepts and some things, and it's like I'm getting there. Even though it's really fucking hard. And I think part of the reason I'm sticking through it is because I have been kind of doing that while playing Smite, where I'm like, I don't understand this fucking person at all.
Knock, knock. Now, who would be knocking all the way out here?
But I know, like, I've had games where I'll start to get it by the end of the game. Or maybe I'll need multiple games. I think it's hard because, like, I don't know, you always feel like you want to learn fast, but there's a lot of value in learning things slowly. You should get into pimping. Okay, Micah sniffed it out. I am getting into pimping. And I tell you, when they said pimping ain't easy, they did not lie. I mean, they don't even tell you about the financial side of things. You got to do your own finances. It's like this this is a lot of legal jargon, like I brought up before. Like, it's really not good, worth going into, but you got to handle all your financials. So much paperwork to pimp, really. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. Yeah. So something I just noticed and picked up on is that, actually, so on Overframe, which I'll show because I never show it, but on Overframe they show the the tier list. But something I noticed, I didn't know how it worked, like the sorting. Like, I didn't know if it was like left to right is better, but I confirmed it is now because Dante was like up here and then kept shifting to the right, which I didn't think anything about until he shifted down to A tier. So, which makes me realize that, the Exceltra is on the low end of S tier. So, they're hypothetically better at that. But I don't think I can get anything else. This is 14. This is a quest thing, I assume. Exceltra Prime, 14. I'm only 12, rank 12. Tenet Arca Plasmor. That's not real. They're making that up. There's Cedo, which is actually pretty up there. And we are doing a lot of... I don't know. We have the Exceltra. We'll worry about that for now. Phalarx is 14. 14, 12, Rubico Prime. But I mean, then I have to make a Rubico Prime, which, what are the odds I have all those pieces? I'm gonna check. But, like, it's low, right? I got a Rubico Prime Barrel. I got 7 chances at another Rubico Prime Barrel. And I got... Yeah, okay, so no, that's not happening. But it was worth checking. Just out of interest, just to pique, just to satisfy my curiosity. If hypothetically I wanted a Wisp Prime Systems, Wisp Prime Blueprint, Neuroptics, Chassis. Wow. So if I hypothetically, and it's not even, if I got the Wisp Prime Systems from this Axie A17, we got a pretty good... We got 9 of these and 9 of these and 4 of these. We got a decent shot. Okay, but before I do that, let me look over my item list. Again, I have my big... You can't see the light is too powerful. And by that, I mean I don't know how to do lighting well enough so that you can see things properly. I'm not good at lighting. Maybe I should look into lighting more. Like, learn how to properly light things. Because it's ramshackle as shit up here. Anyway, I'm going to stop getting distracted. I'm unmedicated. I'm working on it. I'm just going to go over my list of things. I need 15 spinal cord sections. We got 12. Gross also. We need 2 Skintalents. We got 2 Skintalents. Whoa, Black Betty. Skintolent. I think that's kind of all. Everything else is ores and gems and stuff. I think we need to buy the page. We need to buy the blueprint for Thaumic Distillate. Vernado alloy, which I assume is just on a different planet. We should go check... What is that planet called? Fortuna. We should check Fortuna. So I think this is the only one I haven't checked. So we need Thaumic Distillate Blueprint. We need Stellated Necrothane. Trapezium Zenerhost. Cad... What is this word? I'm not good at wording. Oh yeah, we need to fish. Devolve Namelon. Anyway, we need a lot of stuff. Also, I just realized I was going to go back to hunting. Like, back to Deimos to hunt, but I never did that. I just want to level up this gun, man. Maybe I'll do that off stream. And then we'll just do the hunting now. Where are we at? We got 50 minutes of stream left. Alright, let's start with going to Venus. Let's go to Fortuna. So we're looking for... I have not found the blueprint for Vernado alloy. We're going to go look and see if it's here somewhere. They love mining diamonds in Fortuna. And then, out of interest, we might just see if we can... get the wisp thing. If we get the wisp, whatever the one I had one of.
Yes, my itinerant friend. How are we today?
Oh yeah, here it is. Vernado alloy. Oh, and we can afford it too. How about that? Okay, well, we got the blueprint, and we can even make... How much do we need? We need 20, so we can... Yeah, we can already make this. Cool. How about that? That worked out. Slapper.
That should do you quite nicely, I should think.
I'll do you quite nicely. I think. Okay, bye. Alright, cool. We already need it. Nice and quick. Don't know why I went here. Let's go make this. Cool. Alright. I mean, let's give this a go. While we do that, it was an Axie, so let's go... Actually, no, this is fine. We don't need to change gear. Let's go Void Fissures. Let's give me an Axie. Ideally something quick. Survival. Interception. Not quick. Which one's Interception again? I always forget. Is that the one with the... You know what I mean? Is that what it's called? I always remember this one here. Disruption. No, what the hell? Which one's Interception? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't remember.
I may require maintenance after all.
Anyway, we got the Venerdo alloy.
Operator, you have outdone yourself.
Alright, chill out, Ordis. Alright, well, that's one thing done. Cool. Well, a few things now. We just need an ass of standing, but I would like to be stronger for it. Alright, let's just do it. I gotta know. I gotta know. Let's do Axie Interception. What I'm worried about is... Wait one second. Let me confirm what an interception is. I don't want to get into an endless mission and then leave. I don't know how that affects my team. Cause I don't know if they can keep playing if they want to, but I don't want to like want to evac and then they want to keep going. Because I assume people, if they're doing an endless mission, they want to stay for a while. But is that the one where you just... Oh, it's domination. Oh, easy peasy, okay. Oh, but that's also endless, though. And I don't want it... Because I don't know how it works. I don't know if I leave, if everyone has to leave, or if I can just leave alone. Because I only have one thing to open. So I guess I'll just wait. Because it's survival or interception, which usually would be good, except I don't want to... I've said it like 4 times now, you understand. Complete all Star Chart knows to unlock this mission. 16 remain. Click to see a full list. Wait, what is this? A baubled head? Nora Knight? Noggle statue, Nora Knight plus cherry tree glyph. 25 to 35? Yeah, sure, why not?
More for me.
Okay, you're weird. We'll hunt in a minute, maybe. I might save it till next time.
Our position has been
No, we got time. I don't know. We got 45 minutes. I don't think it's gonna. I'm overestimating how much of a problem it's gonna be. Or not problem, but how long it'll take, I guess. Try me, bitch. Try me, bitch. Try me, bitch. Try me, bitch. Why'd that number go flying? Oh, probably because his corpse was there. I understand. They glued that shit to his corpse. Hello? I did not realize this was 10 waves. I guess I should have figured, but I couldn't pass up a bobblehead of Nora Knight. I'm not some kind of moron. Ron? So I didn't even look at it if I could outfit my gun anymore. Which I really should be trying to squeeze out every little upgrade I can to make this smoother. Me regrow out of tuna. I'm pretty sure that's what he said, which is obviously a weird thing to say, but... I mean, they are just like weirdo clones. That seems bad. It was fine. You know, I don't go for headshots enough in this game. That's for damn sure. I mean, the kill times are so fast, I never really think about it, and there's just so many things. But that was a sick move. Really should do that. I don't know how much it matters, but... My natural inclination with shooters is to aim for the body, because more surface area to hit. But it really should not be, and I should really work on that. I mean, at this point, hitting anything would be good, because my aim is disastrous. Like, who was that for? Oh, nice form, my man. Hello? Hello? No, I could have sworn there was someone out here. I could have sworn I heard something. That guy made a noise like he swallowed his own tongue. What? That's us. Damn, that was beautiful. What the hell did he just say? My God. Please, more ammo. Please, I've been good. Please, oh please. Oh yeah, I didn't look at other Sentinel options. I really just fumbled the bag. I saw a Nora Knightley bobblehead and I just got right carried away. Come on out. Come on out. I know you're there. Come on out. You really shouldn't have listened to that. That was terrible advice. Whoa. Not using this nearly enough. Oh my god! I'm truly off one. I'm off a shroom. I'm off a bean. I'm off a Tenno Scoom. Stop calling me that. I'll put up with a lot of things. Usually I got pretty thick skin about insults, but this Tenno Scoom shit's gotta stop. Why did he go up there? This thing's taking a lot of damage. I gotta stop messing around. If I lose, I'm gonna feel really stupid. Okay. Now that I don't know. There's no excuse. That was just terrible. Hello? I'm doing a very bad job. Gargus? You said it, not me. Ah! Hey! Don't take my shit! Did I get it back? What? What? I'm not doing a very good job. Which is unfortunate, because this is the most important mission I've ever done. I feel like I'm in a perpetual state of sharding the floor, shitting the bed, and wetting the ceiling. Please stop taking my gun. You don't even know how to use it. Guy like you? What a mess. What a mess. Alright. I thought maybe this ammo situation would... Well, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really have time to alleviate itself. Like, I haven't leveled that much. Dude, I am losing my cool and my usually calm disposition that I'm definitely known for. Definitely don't give psychopath energy off or anything. Oh my god. Oh! Bad dog. Pro tip, if your dog's being bad, pet them with the spores. Did I say fun fact or pro tip? That's not really a fun fact if I said fun fact, but I don't know if I said fun fact or if I said pro tip. Now I don't know. Holy shit. Holy shit, I'm warm? Good lord. 148 ammo in this thing. That is nothing, dude. How am I supposed to get anything done with this? Yeah, I think handling the ammo situation. Maybe I won't need it later on, but not having to switch to another gun constantly would probably help with my speed gains. If I had to hazard a guess. Feels truly terrible. I think I'm starting to feel like that feeling of like feeling rushed and like I'm not doing enough, so I need to relax. I'm getting too in my head. It's just like the sequence of saying dumb things because I can't form a sentence sometimes. Is yeah, no, I can like definitely feel it. I'm over. I don't know what the word is, but I'm pushing myself too much, being too impulsive. I'll play this on my Switch, think it'll be sweet. Oh, is Warframe on Switch? I didn't know it was. Yeah, man, do it up. If you ever need advice, it is. If it's on the Switch. I don't know if the I don't think the Switch could handle this. But also I don't think it is. I don't know. Is it on? No, it's on console. I just don't know if it's on the Switch. I think Xbox... You said you play Xbox primarily? I think it has. I think it would have, but... I'm pretty sure. I think Xbox and PlayStation might. I don't think... I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I keep saying the same thing. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Sorry, I'm so frazzled. I'm working on it. But also, I think... I don't know. It's very hard in the moment. Even though I know I'm, like, pushing my self to be like, I don't even know how to word it. I know I'm doing something that's bad for my brain, even if it's not apparent what that is on stream. It's very hard to... It's a hard thing to work on. Xbox it is? Yeehaw! Now that you're a farmer, I've noticed you say things like yeehaw, and the horse with the sex was fine. But not as good as with the cow. Which I get. I love it. I've always wanted a farmer friend. I can't hit his head if it don't stop wobbling. I made ice climbers and win the tournament without wobbling. Goats are way better. That's good to know, actually. I should write that down. They faint, so no effort at all. Oh no. Oh, you got those goats that like they get startled and they just kind of fall over. Those things make me sad. I hate the videos where people scare them for fun. They make me upset. They're just trying to live their truth, man. Pardon me? Watch your language, mister. Are you half a man or is this two different guys? No, that's definitely, like, not supposed to be that way. There's not a guy over there. Oh no, there you switch sides. Hell yeah. I think my off-camera progress plan is I'll just camp some higher level missions, take things slow, get some XP on the Exceltra. Did his Prime is only rank 30 again, so I could Forma once Morma. But I don't know, now I'm like on this Wisp thing, I'm kind of wondering. I might, if I get this Wisp part, and it becomes a possibility that I could get the full Wisp Prime, then I might camp and just like do some Void Relics off stream, and just like, you know, go over everything I got back on stream. Because I think I have a lot of certain ones that I might just like do a bunch of. Just like the ones that I don't want to say are garbage. That's not really. The ones I'm less perturbed to lose because I have so many of them that it's extremely likely I'll get everything I want from them. That was a sentence that I think made sense. A genuine problem I'm having, and I'm not sure if it's like something that I should be really concerned about, is sometimes I'll say a sentence so long that by the time I get to the end of it, I'll forget what I even started saying the sentence for. This is a good example. I can't remember what. Like, it's already gone. What was I talking about? I wish that was a joke. Like, that seems, like, really concerning. Like, that can't be normal. Like, I'm genuinely trying to recall why I don't even remember what I just said. Like, I feel like my short-term memory should not be that devastatingly awful. Right? Like, that... What was I talking about? Like, I'm genuinely trying to recall. I was talking about the fact that I forget a sentence by the end of the sentence, but I can't remember the parts before that led to it. I think I just brought it up apropos of nothing. I don't know if that's a sign of something I should be like actually worried about. I guess I should talk to a doctor about it, not a Twitch chat. Or myself, or God. I mean, could you imagine? Imagine if I was your doctor, little psychopathic ass. You walk in and I sing at you for 45 minutes, and I tell you my name is like something stupid, like, what's your name? I can't stop wiggling! Stop it! Like Slade Coldwell. And I'm like, Yahoo, Yahoo. And then I do that for like 45 minutes, and then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, you're terminal. My point is, you don't want me to be your doctor. Ugh. Only hitting 20s is so sad. It makes me feel powerless. But I gotta remember, we're still in the leveling phases, and I gotta be a patient boy. I should probably, like, actually take some time to write down all the weird, like, brain scatter and head-related problems I've been having. I almost said happening. The Happening is a sex con where many people are halved sexually. It's called the Happening. Happening. It's what's happening. It's great. I like the curve it does. Is kind of cool. Okay. I need it.
I didn't say you could play here.
Well, she took the cherry tree glyph. You can have whatever you want, lady. Yo, no, 2 endo? Oh, fuck! Man. 4 Robito? Whatever will I lose? Fucking dickhead.
Oh, I will.
Oh, shut the hell up.
So much
Stop.
fun with you, little meat. Ooh, what shall we play next?
God, you're nothing but... You're nothing. Actually, stop right there. You're nothing. You have no talent. Was I checking? Oh, this is... I didn't see what the time was on this. Oh no, there's only 1. There's 12 minutes. Okay, well now we only got... That mission took longer than I thought, so we'll save the hunting for next stream. It's nice to come into a stream where... And like... Because when I don't know how long something will take, it's nice to know I have a lot of time to fiddle diddle and learn. Which is why I was kind of hesitant to even do it, like start 40 minutes ago, because I don't know. Maybe I don't want to be like just getting into it, and then the stream's time's in.
What are you thinking about?
Little Meat? Yeah, she's a fucking weirdo, dude. She has been harassing me for so long. There's like this thing where how do you look at the Kuva Lich? There's this thing where like this gross little fucking freakazoid just like takes over. I don't know exactly how it works. I've never done it fully, but she took over Earth. I can't remember how you look at it. And now she just talks shit to me all the time, and I'm like, I think when it started, I was nowhere near strong enough to fight her, but I can now, and I just haven't. Oh, I think I remember. You gotta go Arsenal, and then Parazon, and then these. No, nope. That was close though. It seemed related in the moment. You own it. You never ever let it go. The Vanga bus is coming, and everybody's coming. Oh my god, they are coming. Everyone won't stop coming. I don't remember how to look at it. Anyway, the little fucker won't leave me be. Right here, maybe. I don't know how to look at that, actually. I completely forget. But she calls me things like little meat. I don't like it. It's truly not something I enjoy. In any capacity. And I actually, like, can't wait to kill her. How do you look at this? Like, it's not that... Oh, here it is. I found it.
I remember every moment we've shared. Every touch, every lash, every wound.
I don't even know you. We haven't even fought once. But she also, like, steals loot from me sometimes, but it's, like, so little that I don't really care. Oh my god, I said I didn't care, I mean, she is fuming. She has electrified proximity mines. Molecular annihilation. Shock flows with a beam of light. She has abilities? So you gotta, like, modify your... I don't know. One of the things I want to do before I, like, take a break from streaming this game is beat her to death with a hammer, ideally, very slowly. I mean, as slow as you can beat someone to death with a hammer. I haven't tested it out yet. I don't know how the applications. All right. While we wait for this Axie to cycle, let's do all the things I wanted to do, such as look at something else. Cube of Death. What is your move? Sentinel will deal 150 damage to an enemy within 5 meters. Not interested. Damage is not your job, little one. What are you, dirt? Sentinel will zap up to 2 enemies within 10 meters, dealing 100 electricity damage. Nope. Shade is invisibility. Tax on tax on tax.
Excellent armaments, operator. Please return covered in blood.
Last enemies within 10 meters converting 50 damage into shields for the Warframe. Nah, I think we just go, like... Can I do base stats? Oh, base stats. What's the highest base health? Shade. Okay. He has low shield. Well, I guess it doesn't matter then. I guess the ammo thing is the best I have. Holy Ghost. Best that I've had. Wait, what was worm? Do I know what worms is? Oh, the knockdown. I mean, I guess none of them are great. So let's take this. Alright. That's good. I only have 3. Man, I'm really not getting much. But anything I can put on that's... I need one more I could put on a serration. Maybe I should just put on a serration. Maybe instead of crit, I should focus on just harm. If I put on a serration, though, what goes on with it? Whoops. Not the bow.
All logs are accounted for, operator. I have not taken any.
Orders? 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 60% fire rate, 45% fire rate, but also the punch through. Do I care about the punch through? I don't know. Let's just do this and this. But then ammo, of course, is a problem. Clip? No. Magazine? Capacity? This really is a sore spot, huh? Oh wait, no, I can do this. I could have upgraded. Okay, so we got a little fire rate, we got a little more damage. Do I have anything that is puncture? Not punch through, puncture. Piercing hit. Good against armor. Defensive sin and corpus. Robotics. Reduces the target's damage output by up to 80%, increases crit chance of damage taken. Oh. So I guess at max level what I'll try to do is like damage, crit chance, and a lot of puncture, and then I'll just like liquefy people with like hell crits, or like fire rain maybe instead of damage even. Just like turn people into goo with a lot of crits. That's my initial reaction. Now this one, like, I guess I level up. I've leveled up way more actually. That makes sense. I don't know if I want a polarity again though. I'm not going to until I know how this wisp thing pans out. Let's do flow. Let's do it. I can't do that. Ability efficiency. I don't think I want that. I kind of just want to hit people like real hard. Ability duration. Yeah, nerd. Yeah, nerd. I guess I'll just do the efficiency. I have like too much space now. I don't even think I need to polarize. I guess maybe if I actually upgrade this stuff more. Which I should. Because either way, like I'm still gonna use these. Well, am I? I don't know. Without all three. Let's see. If I, hypothetically, if I only use 2 of them, like say if Vitality was like... So with 2, it only goes to 100%. So it's not really much better than a regular... just Vitality. With all 3, it definitely is, because that is an exponential... I don't know. Maybe I should just try to use all these just because it's a big deal. But, like, if I don't need ability strength... I mean, I guess when would I not? But I don't know. If something's more shield-oriented, then this armor goes less far. I don't know. I think it's just, like, it's all situational. This one. I don't know. Okay, well, let's just do... Like, the range... No, that doesn't seem like what I want. Do I not have just a normal reach? Let's get some shield capacity. Perfect. The build is complete. I guess ability duration's alright. Makes my 4 last longer. Makes me suck harder for longer. I guess not harder, just for longer.
Ordis loves it.
Ordis scared me. I don't think there was anything else, but I don't remember. Axie, interception in a minute. Omnia. What is Omnia? Kind of sounds like you could do anything you want. Omni? Oh, you can. Alright. Conjunction, survival, or void flood. I don't know what either of those are. I am not feeling confident enough. Conjunction survival. I don't know. Let's just give it a second. This will refreshes in a minute. Anything else I need to do? I don't think so. Actually, out of interest, does it have any skins? Oh, that's pretty cool. That's, oh my god, that's a... Reminds me of something from Halo. I can't remember what it's called. Is it one of the guns from Halo? It's called Gun, perhaps? God, it is huge. What the hell? That's a cool skin. Day of the Dead is a interesting skin to have in Warframe. But I guess it kind of contains multitudes. I'm in charge of a strange cult of dudes. Imagine infinity versions of me and parallel versions. I don't know any more of the words. When I get these? Holy. I could still upgrade these. Golly. I don't know. The Exceltra is so far so fine. I'm hoping once we have more space, we'll start to see its potential shine. It feels like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it feels like or formatting your weapons is more important than using it on your frame. Like with my frame, I feel like I have, like I don't need to format. Like I have so much space that I can't even manage to use. Though I guess my stuff isn't max upgrades yet. Like there's still a lot to go there in that regard. But still like a lot of counteract some of that efficiency actually. I don't know. I just have a lot of space. But the Exceltra, I'm like, I'm not getting enough. Like, so I feel like it makes more sense to have these be modded or have the polarity you want, so you can stretch things as far as you can. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's how it feels right now. I don't know if that's actually how it is. All right. Please tell me I can... A mobile defense, sure. And then we will do the Wisp. It's... If we get the Wisp Prime systems, we will farm for the rest of Wisp Prime. Because according to Warframe, it is goated. It is the best. The best of the best. And it's the best of the best in the best of the best. With an S on my chest, got stress filling up my head, so I spent the last night eating a knife. I ate a knife. Yes. Wait. Stop. I forgot 2 things. One, I almost didn't go in with other people, which I really should do. And also, just so I don't feel like I'm holding my homies back, I'm gonna bring a gun I know does work right now. Okay, let's go to public, just for this mobile defense. Alright, it's gonna come down to this. This'll decide, this'll largely affect the trajectory of what I do for a while. Because if I can get Wisp Prime, I mean, we got a lot to do still, so if I could be like hitting their asses with the yoinky sploinky, I'm gonna do that. Also, if I do get this Wisp drop, then I will probably do...
This is a mobile defense mission.
Oh.
You must deliver payloads and defend a number of locations.
I'm on the wrong way.
The network. Be prepared for heavy resistance. I can't do this.
I will,
There are void fissures in the area. Use these to crack open a relic. You found a fissure. Look out for
hey, yo, big rookie!
The corrupted enemies are dropping reactant.
Well, who was that? Who's this? This is a different character.
Reactant is working on your relic. Find more. You've got to find a terminal.
That's melee. I don't know why I'm... Sorry, what was I saying? If we do get the piece I need, then we will be, I might do a lot of grinding. I need to figure out what Void Relic I'm okay with opening en masse off stream. You know what I mean?
Terminal spotted. Upload key and prepare to defend.
I don't know. Are they moving?
This will take a moment.
I see reactant. Hold the fort, I'll be back. Oh my god, someone is making me speedy. Oh. Oh. Oh, we're planting flowers. Are these buffs? Oh yeah, they're infinity. Haste moat, vitality moat,
Still working on it.
roar.
Continue to defend.
I'm doing it, I'm doing it. I'm doing it fine. Okay, so when you leave... Wow, those motes are... Holy crap. Playing with other people is always a fun time. Shout out to playing the Taskman game mode, because if I never did that, I probably would not have the social wherewithal to even try this. Which is, you know, a testament to how not good my social anxiety is. We're going backwards. Or was? I guess it's not as bad as it was. I think a valuable thing I learned about social anxiety is just how much it helps to just be in proximity of others. Even if you're not talking. I think I said this last time I did missions with other people. Sentiment still stands. It helps a lot to just kind of be. Even if you're not talking. More than I ever would have expected. Oh, it's Shadow Stalker. Well, who's he after? Does he say?
That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission and we'll take
Leave! You alright? You fell asleep?
Still working on it.
I don't know if there's a way you're supposed to get that guy off your back permanently, or it's just kind of a thing that'll happen forever.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
How do you do anything with Nidus if you're in a group? Like, I'm supposed to stack if everything turns into death instantly.
Change of plans. Ignore your original objective.
Huh?
Leave nothing alive.
Okay. If you insist. This guy got the Meso Prime. Is that what that is? I thought I saw the cowboy hat. What's your favorite flavor of hat? Mine's cowboy. I got him.
Now get to
Did we all... We're all opened? Alright, let's go. Dude, this freaking haste mode. Is it even on? Are we just someone else doing something movement speed? I feel faster than usual still. But maybe I'm just imagining things. I fucking got it, brother! I mean, Gauss Prime is tempting, but I gotta take the Wisp Prime. Holy shit, I did not expect to get it. I mean, it was a pretty good chance, though. But we have one shot. Yo? It's happening? Oh, we got some void choices. Alright, so. Very unexpected. But. Thank you to my comrades. Take care, have a lovely day. You're all beautiful. Let me switch to friends only before I forget. Okay, well, we had one shot at Wisp Prime chassis and we got them. So. Or systems, sorry. Systems. Alright, so we got 4 shots at the main blueprint. 9 at the neuroptics, and another 9 at the chassis. And we have the systems. So I think we gotta take this chance. But we will need a lot of void fissures, so I'm going to get them off stream. We've opened a lot. I think it's okay at this point. Like, I've done so many void relics on stream. Like, we get the gist. I have 17 Neo K7s. Do I care about anything here? mean, statistically, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know statistically what I'm likely to get, but I might just do these.
I suppose that everyone has to be somewhere.
Can I search by... Oh, amount owned. It already is. So I think I'll do a bunch of these, and then I'll just start... Every time I hit 100, I'll just... Oops. I'll just... refine one of the relics, and then I'll just get as many as I can, so we can get Wisp Prime, hopefully. I'll have to buy a Warframe slot, but that's fine. We got the plat for it. What do I need to make? Do I need anything specific? I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I think we have everything already. Hold up, let's confirm. We need a Argon Crystal. By then, we'll probably need a second one, but getting 2 Argon Crystals, not a problem. Wow, did not really expect that to pan out. Like, don't get me wrong, Nidus is cool, but he feels a little too...
All set. Service your weapons myself.
I understand why he's only A tier, because he can be very strong, but you really gotta ramp up. Like, he doesn't do... I mean, I might not have the best mods for it, but he feels like he doesn't do as much at the start. But he can get there, but also his range is so short, and it really requires a lot of enemies being together. He's not as multifaceted. He's situational. But strong still, despite that. Especially when you can just spam your 1 and regen energy. But again, that also requires a proper mod setup, so... Still, no regrets. He's a chill cat. I don't hate it. But I feel like we can do better. And we are, and we will, and we're gonna, and we shall. So I will probably just be farming Void Relics off stream. And I'll make a little list of everything I get. And we can go over it and start
all about incentivizing.
Hopefully tomorrow's stream. But maybe not. I think in general, my off-camera goal will be to prepare to farm Wisp Prime on stream. But I'll do the more tedious... I don't know. When I say tedious, it makes it sound like I don't enjoy it. Honestly, I don't mind doing it at all. But the more repetitive parts... I'll do the more repetitive parts off stream. And then we'll do the more focused parts on stream. And then we will hopefully get it. I mean, if we don't get it... That would be devastating. Especially after pulling the chassis on 1. We got 9, 9, and 4 tries. So I guess we'll start with these. And then... I mean, if I don't get it, I guess then... SOL, right? We'll give it a go. I'll probably level up the Exceltra. Actually, wait, what was it? It was a Neo that we're doing. Yeah, so... Yeah, I'll try to level up the Exceltra. I don't know, I probably won't get that much. I guess if I do a... I don't know, I'll probably try to do like a survival mission or something, so I'm in a place where I could use a... Oh, fuck. So I'm in a place where I can... like, use my gun consistently. Like, a fast mission is... like, there's no scaling, so I don't really get that much XP, but I'm hoping the combination of being in a group on a longer mission will scale my XP up nicely, and I'll be able to level up my Exceltra a bit, and it'll end up being really cool, because right now it's pretty good, and I can see why it, like, can get sick, but it is not sick yet. So we'll see. Thanks for watching the stream. Sorry for being like all scatterbrained and stuff. I'm working on it. It's as much as I don't know. It's just some mental health stuff I'm working on. I have a lot of problem with impulse control, which I think is partially something that I have to deal with pills and something I have to learn to handle myself. But I don't know what percentage of it is based on just like weird mental chemistry. And what percentage of it is just me having bad impulse control. Could be like 90-10, it could be like 50-50, I don't know. But either way, I'm going to keep trying to work on it. And hope the streams are, you know, less of me losing my goddamn mind. Thanks for hanging out, Micah. It was nice to have you in the chat. It was a slower day today. But, I loved having you around. Keep doing you, dog. I mean, I'll try. But, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling... I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm literally fucking insane. I just need to slow down. I have a lot of... It's okay. Point proven. On stream, it's the hardest. When I'm just, like, recording a video or editing or doing my own thing, slowing down is not that big of a deal. Actually, 1 second. I have an Argon Crystal. Is there anything I can start? I'm happy to watch. It's awesome. Honestly, that helps a lot because I feel like it's unwatchable when I'm losing my shit constantly. Anything need 1 Argon Crystal? This thing's gonna time out anyway. Upgrades the Orbiter's incubator with the following features. Sure? I don't know. Oh, I don't already have one. I guess I would have said if I had one. This sounds like a one-time only type thing. Thank you for being here. Sorry if the psychotic diatribes are hard to listen to. I'm working on it. And, I'm just checking. I do have an ADHD tag on the stream. Just making sure. It's very relevant lately. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening. And I will catch you tomorrow with more Warframe. Peace!